Welcome to Sunday Gravy Radio, where every conversation's on the table. Movies, stories, debates, random observations, and whatever's making noise this week. We're Tim and Mark from the Vice of Miami podcast, just throwing it all in the pot. This is episode number 5, and today we're discussing cruising the high seas.
We sure are cruising the high seas, and it's going to be stories of basically cruising. The cruises that we took. I did 2. I don't know. You've done more than that, Tim, right?
Yeah, I've done more than that. I'm just going to talk about our most recent one that we did last month.
Yeah, my most recent was in 1997, and the ship doesn't exist. So yeah, we'll give some points of the ships we were on and the ports of call and stuff like that. And what we're also going to do is on our YouTube page, I actually had to take pictures of pictures I had. Because, yeah, back then, there were no digital cameras, right? 96? No. So I had to take pictures of pictures. So anyway, we'll throw them in our Facebook post and Instagram and stuff like that and on our YouTube. But I also had to take video of some video I took. Back then, it was videotape. There was no digital. I have a VHS machine. Still, the other day I threw it in there and recorded little bits here and there. So at least on the YouTube page, you'll see the video, but here on the audio portion, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to. So you have to go watch it. And then we'll do another snack, and then we'll go from there. So how about we get into it, Tim?
Let's do it, Mark.
Yeah. When was your first cruise? What year?
My first cruise was probably somewhere around the last one you took. I think we went for Easter. It was on one of the carnivals, and I don't remember which ship. You know, you had assigned seating at night, whatever it was. They had midnight buffets. They had all the bells and whistles that Carnival's known for. And it wasn't bad, but, then you graduate into other ones, and we've taken 2 cruises on Norwegian Cruise Line. One was on the Pride of Hawaii, which it doesn't exist as that name anymore. They redid the name, and they transatlantic it or trans-Pacific it somewhere else. And then we did the Pride of America.
Is the Hawaii one, is it still the same company, or do they sell the boat, or did they just rebrand the boat?
No, they just took that, but they had 2 going, Pride of America, Pride of Hawaii. When we were on Pride of Hawaii, we were like the 6th sailing on that. And I'll get into it in a little bit about what happened on that with that one. But then they just renamed it something else. The ship still exists. And it just went to, maybe the Mediterranean, or it went to Asia, the Pacific.
Wow.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure. Okay. Then we did the Pride of America. It was the same itinerary in Hawaii. Then we did one in 2023, NCL. No, I'm sorry, I got to go back. 2019, we did Royal Caribbean in Mexico. It was Cozumel and a couple other stops. A really short thing, but we were on there for Christmas. Then in 2023, we did one NCL, the Norwegian Bliss in Alaska. And the most recent one was Celebrity Apex. We did that last month out of Port Canaveral, and it did Caribbean.
Oh, wow. You did quite a few. Well, we only have 2 under our belts, Chris and I. Our first one was part of our honeymoon, and way back in 1996. And then we loved it so much, we told our friends. And the next year, in May of 97, we went on another carnival. The first one was the Carnival Ecstasy, which no longer exists. It's probably pop cans right now. They
decommissioned it, yeah.
Decommissioned that and the Inspiration. I think 2 years ago they did that. If you don't mind, I could get into my first one, Tim, and maybe you could tell a story of your first one and kind of bounce back and forth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Cool with that. All right, so my like I said, my first one was on the MS Carnival Ecstasy in June of 96. We sailed out of Miami. We actually honeymooned in Longboat Key, Florida the week before. So we actually drove to the port. No, we didn't drive to the port. We drove to the airport because that's where you dropped off the car. And this is before internet, folks. So everything had,
I think
we did it through AAA maybe, because we had a membership through AAA. But anyway, we dropped off the car at the airport, and then not knowing anything from anything back then, we were actually going to pay for a bus service from the airport to the port. Well, while we were dropping our car off there, there was, I think it was the actual rental car company. I think it was Alamo. They're like, hey, why are you doing that? We give shuttles for free, like to the port. I'm like, sweet. So now none of it was prepaid, so we didn't have to prepay for that shuttle we were going to take originally. So we jumped on the Alamo. They took us there. We already had our luggage tags. They dropped us right at the ship. And everyone, I'm guessing they call them room stewards or whatever. They're there. Hey, what's your name? So they found our name and they tagged our bags and took them, and on we go. So this was only a 4-day, 3-night, and it was from Miami. Next day we were in Key West, and then we were in Cozumel, and then back to Miami. But I don't have to look this up. This is one quirk that I have. I should have included this last show, Tim. Do you know the captain's name and your cruise director's names of your first cruise?
Absolutely not. Not at all. In fact, I forgot one cruise in between the last one. This one we did Viking, and it was the Italian Sojourn, and that was totally different class of ship.
Oh, I can imagine. But anyway, this is a quirk I have, and my wife kind of calls me out. But anyway, the MS Ecstasy Carnival captain in June of '96 was Captain Carlo Quirolo. How you spell his last name? I don't know it. You could try Googling it. Carlo Quirolo. Cruise director Art Whitlock. And why he stuck out is because in '96, there was a TV show that was hot on Thursdays, medically centered. Do you know what I'm driving at, Tim?
Oh, it's ER.
ER, yes. Art Whitlock sounded like Dr. I think it's Dr. Ross.
George Clooney, yes.
Yep, the cruise director sounded exactly like him. Anyway, moving on. Our room steward was Winai Intanin. Our waiter was Troy. Our busboy was Armando. I think the only reason I know these things because they're odd names. Carlo Criollo, Winai Intanin. I mean, Troy's not that odd and Armando's not that odd. But I remember Armando because our dinner mates, we just sat with 2 other couples that were celebrating their honeymoon as well. One of them, I think they were from Georgia. It wasn't Armando. This guy kept saying, Armando. The way he was pronouncing his name just kind of cracked me up a little bit. So it's one of those things where you heard it so much, you heard it oddly, so it kind of stuck. But anyway, like I said, their dinner mates, one was a couple was from Georgia, and I think another one was from Peoria, downstate, Tim. Real nice people. Young, just like us, early 20s. We pretty much had fun. We didn't really hang out much after, like on excursions and stuff. But again, we're, super nice people, very personable. And I remember one of these dudes always wanted Swiss cheese. I don't know why. I don't know what the big thing was, but every meal, I got to have Swiss cheese. I want Swiss cheese. This was the one I think I told you about originally, Tim, and maybe even on the Vice Miami show. We did a ship tour. I think you did that too. And they include the galley. And, you see the food stores, the fridge, and all that stuff where they got pallets and pallets. It's amazing the amount of food and preparation, just the food portion of this cruises are. You see them loading it up on pallets while you're, embarking, and even at the next ports, just pallets and pallets of food coming on. But anyway, while we were on the galley tour, I got to do a cameo, I guess you could say, for the daily thing they would show on TV in the rooms where they showed just part of the ship. Well, anyway, long story short, they were making it look like I was actually carving food into all these intricate designs and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, and back then there was a certain chef. He's still popular, but back then he was really hot. Emeril Lagasse. And what was his tagline? What would he always say? Do you know?
What did he say?
There were 2 things.
Bam!
Yep, exactly. That and kick it up a notch. So I threw that in there. And I said, I'm just ad-libbing or whatever. And they're like, yeah, I'm carving it. A little practice here and there, a lot of hard work. And then, bam, you got a masterpiece. And it took there was only maybe 2 or 3 people doing their social media, I guess, back then, with the camera and all that. The look on their face, I thought they pooped their pants when I yelled out, bam. I got it. Chris got it. I don't know if they got it. Another part on the galley tour is where they're showing preparation of the food for the next meal. I think there was dinner coming up. And one of the chefs, or maybe the under chefs, whatever you call them, but anyway, they're showing some of the food, just holding up the trays of food. Well, some of these boob dudes who had too much to drink on the tour here, or maybe before, they were pre-lubed, they thought they were offering them samples to eat.
Oh, geez.
Well, what yeah, oh geez. What this was, it was breaded raw chicken. These dudes took like 3 or 4 pieces each and they just ate it down. And the chef, because I was behind these guys, he looked at me with a smile on his face, and I just shook my head. And I'm like, I knew what it was, because you could tell where he was preparing it, off to the side. It's just raw, like bits of cut chunks of chicken breast, small chunks of chicken breast. And he would batter it or bread, whatever. But these dudes just obviously totally oblivious, and just, I'm like, yeah, you're going to have fun later, pal. You'll be sitting on the toilet. And another thing
or salmonella.
Yeah, exactly. Montezuma's revenge, right? And another one, you're talking about the midnight buffet and all this. Well, the same thing on this. What they do is they showcase, the food art, all the sculptures they make out of the vegetables, the ice carvings, cheese, stuff like that, right, Tim?
Right.
And the whole thing is you go look at it for half hour, 20 minutes, whatever, and you take your pictures, and then you sit down and they'll call you up. So now if you're Billy Bob Brobnick out of Bumble Drunk, Georgia or wherever, and you have a little too much to drink today, what do you think you're going to pay attention to the rules?
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
Nope. So some people, trying to take pictures, and these people are just grabbing the food. I don't know how they had the plates right away, but they had plates, and they're just grabbing all this food. So by the time us people who know how to follow directions, we pretty much didn't get anything to eat, because all these, once one person does it, it's just a, snowball effect. Everyone else starts doing it, right? So it was crazy. But anyway, it was nice. The ship was nice. But anyway, it was a Carnival Ecstasy and no longer exists. And this was one of the big ones back in the day, in the early 90s. This was considered a big ship. The gross tonnage was 70,000 tons. Now that's like a mini ship, right? The one you were on was pretty big. You were just on.
Yes. Well, it wasn't too bad.
Let's see, 855 feet long, 103 feet, the beam, I guess the height. What else? When did it go? It went in service in 1991. So this was at 5 years old, and it ended service, scrapped, went to the scrap heap in 2022. 4 years already scrapped. It's probably a car by now or something like that. But anyway, that was our first cruise. Again, Miami to Key West to Cozumel, which is nice. Cozumel was nice. Key West was the typical stuff. You just walk around. You just went there, Tim. You walk around, see all the sights.
Right.
What did we do? We did. We didn't do the conch train, but it was an open air trolley. Now, it wasn't the hop on, hop off one. It was the actual tour where you went by all the landmarks and all that stuff. You did the Southern Point and all that. And then what did we do? We went to the aquarium. But anyway, did that. There was a pepper shop down there with millions and millions of different types of pepper sauces and all that. And anyways, it was a nice first cruise. Like I said, we liked it so much. We as soon as we came home, we planned one for the next year, which I'll get into later. So anyway, that was our first one. Tim, you got some stories on your adventures? Okay.
The first one was a Carnival one. Again, I don't remember the name of it. It was San Juan. It sailed out of Miami, returned to Miami. It was San Juan. We did St. Thomas, Tortola, which is the British Virgin Islands. And I think I don't remember if there was anything else other than that, but I think it was about a week. And that was my very first cruise. Judy had taken one previously. So, I'm new to the cruising thing. What movie do you think was the featured one in the stateroom? This is about 97-ish, 98-ish, maybe we went.
As soon as I answer it, I'm going to tell you what was on ours. But anyway, 97.
Like 97, 98 we went.
Into Independence Day? maybe?
Nope, the Titanic.
Oh,
So for somebody
nice.
for somebody who's never been on a ship before, let's just baptism by fire. For that
Well,
one,
at least you weren't going in the Arctic waters.
correct. We're going in warmer waters.
There you go.
But one thing I remember specific, other than that, specifically what I remembered about that one is you had the assigned seating, so we sat with the same people every night. And I remember this couple, they were from Cincinnati, I believe, and we started talking about. We asked them about Jerry Springer because I think he was the mayor of Cincinnati. They said he was a great mayor. So that's what I remember about that. I do remember all the ice sculpture, everything, the midnight buffet.
Right.
You know, you get pizza, whatever you want. So it wasn't too bad.
Do you remember the suggested tip for for your waiter, your busboy, and your room steward? Do you remember the daily per person?
No.
Well, it was Carnival, the same thing. I think it was standard, but it was $3 a day per person. For the steward, for your waiter and your busboy, and I think, if I remember, they had actually envelopes prepared for you already.
And nowadays they don't even do that. It's all. Well, when we did Viking, you chose that as an additional expense, and it was a flat rate that we paid in on Royal, Norwegian, and Celebrity. It's all included in your price of your cruise. I mean, they break it down, but it shows you how much you're paying, and if you want, you could leave a little bit. You could live with it, and that's what we did with our stateroom. We left a little extra. When it came to our second cruise, was Norwegian Pride of Hawaii. We were at 6 sailing, so that we were like week number 6 with them. And when we got on board, we found out, because it flew under the American flag, so you had Americans that were primarily your wait staff, the whole crew. Around week 3, they lost half their crew because people thought they were going to just get on the ship and it was going to be one big party. They didn't realize they were going to be working 10-hour days, and then they would get every so many days you'd get a day off, or they could go into port, things like that. So needless to say, in the stateroom wasn't being well taken care of. There was, how you could store your luggage underneath the bed. It was, oh my God, it was filthy underneath there.
Ooh.
When we went back 4 years later, we did the Pride of America, same exact itinerary. By then, the Pride of Hawaii was discontinued as a second ship for Hawaiian sailings, and it was way, way, way better service, because I think people figured out, hey, you can't do this. Let me think. But on that one, you'd do a day and a half, an overnight in Kauai, and they had to cut that second day short 8 hours because it was there was a mandatory Coast Guard inspection. So instead of that 8 hours, they put us up that next night. They put us up in. I was at the fire department, so I was looking it up on the internet, and saw that they put us in the Moana Surf Rider, which was one of the first of 2 resorts.
Okay. Wow.
Resort style hotels that Hawaii ever had. So you're going back into the 40s, 50s, stuff like that. We were right on Waikiki Beach.
Oof. Nice.
So I was like, it was a $500 a night hotel. So okay, they did good by us there. So it was really good. And obviously the itinerary for Hawaii was excellent. It would take too long to explain everything, like the different highlights. But, obviously if you're going to go to Hawaii, you're going to want to do Pearl Harbor. We also, that first cruise, that was in 2006, our plane was a little bit late leaving O'Hare, and it was a direct flight, 9 hours to there. So we got there, and I had arranged for us to do a renewal of our vows. So we got on a plane, we checked in, on a ship, checked in, got off real quick. I mean, we didn't have much time, met the Reverend in like it was called Sunset Park, and we did the thing. Then we had a few pictures, got the rush to get back on. So that was second time we went to Hawaii, which was 4 years later in 2010. We ended up staying 3 days. We went in 3 days early and stayed at the Hilton Hawaiian Village, again on Waikiki Beach. And then we rented a car for 1 day just to drive up to Dole Plantation. We do pineapples, and they got
nice
pineapple ice cream, which is outstanding. And they gave me my rental car was a brand new ragtop Mustang with only 400 miles on it. I'm like, oh, geez, you're giving me this. I don't want to wreck this thing, but it was all good.
Good.
But a must is Pearl Harbor. I think if we went, well, the best part about the Hawaiian cruise, they do island hopping. So it starts in Oahu, but again, I suggest to anybody going in early, so then you don't have that little jam up. And the second time we went, it was again direct flight.
There you go.
Then we figured out our favorite island was the Big Island of Hawaii, much more laid back. And just so people know, it's called Hawaii, and it's called the Big Island because it's the biggest of all the Hawaiian islands compared to Oahu, Maui, and Kauai. So the next time we went was in 2014. So in 2010, we did Judy's Hawaii 5-0, and in 2014, we did my Hawaii 5-0. And we stayed. We rented an Airbnb and we stayed there. We stayed in Airbnb right on the water. It didn't have air conditioning in it. And we went in July, and Judy's like, "What are you doing?" And I opened up the big glass picture window, the patio window, and you had the trade wind. So you didn't need any air conditioning.
Nice. So the cruise
rented a car.
So if I could interject really quick. So the cruising and the cruise ships kind of laid the foundation for you loving Hawaii, right?
Right. And here's the thing, though, and I guess I'll get into it later, like the different types of ships we were on. But the food was good. They, unlike Carnival that had the assigned seating, I don't know what they do now, but at that time when we did assigned seating, assigned time to eat, Norwegian does freestyle cruising. So you pick the time you want to eat. There's not a lot of formal nights. Have to dress up in a suit or a shirt and tie, slacks. You don't have to do that. You have to be a little bit dressed up. I mean, you can't wear no cutoff shorts, no shorts, no flip flops.
Be respectful.
No tees. Yeah, you got to resort casual, they call it. Right. So if you had dark jeans, and a polo shirt or Hawaiian shirt, you're gonna get away with it. Yeah, so yes, those two cruises did do that for us.
Good. I remember on ours, you're talking about the dress code. I remember on both of them, it was 2 formal nights where you needed a suit and tie. You could not be anything else. I still have the suit. It doesn't fit. It's just sitting in a closet. It was kind of a wish. Maybe I'll fit into it. I'm never going to fit into it. But anyway, you had to make sure you had not a tuxedo, but formal, it was nice.
Right.
Because one of them was a captain's dinner, and you didn't want to look like you just came from the pool with, sun lotion all over your face and smell like chlorine or whatever. As far as, in your opinion, so far what you've described, what ships, what stood out as far as the ships that you were on so far?
Well, Carnival is more like that's more for younger people. When we were younger, and you have all these bells and whistles and all the rides and games and bumper cars or this cars. Same thing on some of the Norwegian ones. I don't. The Hawaii ones didn't have zip lining stuff. That's now more into the 2020s where they're adding all these rock climbing walls and stuff. They didn't have that, but they did have stuff. They're bigger ships. They have, and even when we did the Norwegian Bliss, you're talking anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 people. Now, we never did a ship of the one like Carnival and the Norwegians. They were probably more like 4,000 to 4,500 people on it.
The ones we were on, only 2,000 passengers. So,
now, again, I don't remember the Carnival one too much. It probably was about that as well, but not when you got into Norwegian. They were more 4,000, 4,500 plus the crew.
Did it feel, with that type of crowd, in your opinion, did it feel like you were sardines?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that 4,000?
I didn't mind it so much because we were in Hawaii. So you're like, you got on island time. It wasn't bad. But when we did Royal, where we went to, it was Cozumel, just a quick one, quick little stops. It was a Christmas cruise. It was only about 5 days. That one was even much larger. And yes, you could feel restricted or constrained. I mean, entertainment wasn't bad on there. The food wasn't bad, but then we did the Norwegian Bliss in 2023, and that was to Alaska. Now you're talking about probably 4,000, 4,500 people again, and that one was, especially when we got off in Victoria, British Columbia. I didn't like that particular port call because we arrived there at 8:00 at night, and then it left again at midnight. So they really wanted you to just see. It's like a festival of lights out there. It was cool in BC, but it took 45 minutes or an hour to clear customs. So now you only got 3 hours. So we just did a bus tour which they allowed you to get off and walk around, go in there and do things like that. So wasn't terrible, but when we went to Cozumel, we did a dolphin experience where you could touch dolphins. There was something called senior frogs. This is when
senior frogs.
Actually, you had senior frogs in Margaritaville, but we had food that was with this thing in Cozumel, wherever we went to for the dolphin experience. And they also had a bar there we could eat there. But even though it was included, the food was oh my God, it was terrible.
Oh, really?
Terrible. We were just talking about this when we were on our last cruise. We should have just went Margaritaville or Senior Frogs, and that was before.
Hold on.
That's just as you got off the ship before you went through customs.
So you're saying the food on the ship was bad, or the food?
No, at this place was bad.
Oh,
it was just a buffet. It was a buffet style. Yeah. Oh my God, it was horrible.
Okay.
No,
gotcha.
the food on the cruise wasn't bad, but as you go up and think, then so Norwegian Bliss was a little it really is magnified in Victoria, British Columbia, because now you got 3 hours before you have to set sail again, and you got 4,000 some people getting off the ship.
Oh my God.
And it was crowded, elevators crowded, things like that. Then we did in 2024, we did Viking cruise. I think it was the Viking Sky, the Italian Sojourn, 900 passengers. Almost everything's included. You could do, there's a free excursion at every port of call, or you could upgrade a little bit. And it wasn't that bad in price. We did a winery, visit the winery, had lunch. I mean, but what they offer, yes, you're paying a lot more. In fact, Mark, what I'll do is, and maybe we could share this on our Facebook page. I'll look it up. We watched it last night. I'll try to look for again where some guy was ranking the different levels of cruise ships. And you should watch about 15 minutes. And it gives you the different class, like level 6, level 7 are those ones where you're living on there. But, it puts where Viking's at. And when you get that level, we're like, you know what? We're done with the larger ships.
Right.
But we just did Celebrity Apex out of Port Canaveral, took us to Key West, Bimini, Bahamas, Puerto Plata, Dominican, and the Turks and Caicos. There, it was about 2,900 people. but you never felt restricted. I highly recommend them. And like Judy said, we graduated now from Norwegian, and Celebrity is owned. It's the middle ground of the Royal Caribbean class of ships. Royal is your more your party ship, the bigger ones, because they got one. They have one that's 10,000 people now.
Forget.
Then you have
that.
Yes, Celebrity is it's owned by the Royal Group,
right?
And then you have Silver Sea, which is the luxury line, but. We highly recommend Celebrity. The difference in entertainment, Norwegian will offer some like Broadway style stuff because we saw Jersey Boys on there. We went Carnivals. It's the same ensemble people that are doing all these different shows, and they were to do all that. It was fantastic. And they had one. They had one woman. In fact, I got to look up again. Named Charity Lockhart. She was on. She got the golden buzzer on America's Got Talent. She didn't win it, but what a phenomenal businesswoman, and her story about going from homeless to where she's at now, running a foundation where she builds homes as transitional housing for homeless people.
So you got excellent, good entertainers. That's another thing.
It was good entertainers. It wasn't the Broadway style like Norwegian, but there 3,000 people. We can do that. And the one thing is that we didn't have assigned seating. We did that eat anytime, but they asked us when we came up to be seated, they said, would you like to sit with people? And we said, sure. And we sat with the same couple 3 times just by chance. And they were great people. Retired. She's a retired EMT, and he was a retired volunteer fire chief, but he was a mechanical engineer by trade. Excellent. So highly recommend them. And we might even look at a Mediterranean or European cruise with them too, but it was just phenomenal.
Nice. One thing that stood out, like I said, I was only on Carnival, and I'll get to the next one in a bit, but at least even in the mid-90s, the attention to detail, even on a Carnival, it was clean. Anything you needed, not going to be right away because, you got 2,000 people, but take care of it. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. Hey, what about this? Yep, we'll take care of this. And everybody was so helpful. You've got these people that are essentially kind of from third world countries, so to speak, right? Because they're
not all third world countries, but yes, they're all like you're talking about Jamaica, Philippines,
everywhere.
And like a lot of the Asian. Asian island people, Haiti. We had, they're from all over,
right?
And because they need that job because they're sending money home to their families versus, I'm sorry to say it, but a lot of us Americans, we don't want to work that hard, and that's where an NCL got in that trick bag with the Pride of Hawaii.
Yep, lazy Americans. But what I was going to say is, they're sending money home and all this, but you can't forget that this is their home, 10 months out of the year, pretty much. So, they're not going to let it look like a dump, even though they're, not staying in our staterooms and all that. They get their own quarters.
Right.
But, this is their home as well. On our second cruise, we saw our waiter on ports, out in the ports, having fun with his coworkers and all that, One thing that stood out, like I said, was the attention to detail and the respect that they had of us, the people who were shelling out cash. I don't remember what this cost. I think it was, if I'm going to say $400 for the 4-night per person, that was probably too much money. I don't know. I don't think it was that much, but it was, it's definitely worth it. Our first cruise, it was clean. What was it? What else was I going to say? Oh, I remember, as far as the dining, this was, scheduled. It was either main dining, which was 6:00 dinner, or you could choose late, which is 8:00. I've never liked eating late. If it's after 7, I'm probably just not going to eat a meal, unless like an emergency. So the first one, we did the 6:00 seating. And on our second cruise, which I'll get into, we did 8:00. I hated the 8:00 because everyone had to get back from their ports of call from their excursions by a certain time. On our first one, it was kind of the same way. You had to get back, You get cleaned up and then you go eat, which is cool. Well, this next one, you had to wait an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours on their second cruise. It's like, and then you're done with stuff. And then the next show, was really late. And it's like, I'm not a late person. If they still have that type of thing, I suggest doing the main seating, the 6 o'clock or around that time-ish.
Right.
But you mentioned the movie. I remember our movies on our first one. I don't remember the second one at all. I don't even think we watched that much. But on the first one, we were kind of tired from driving all that. It was a rotation of 3 movies. One of them was Bed of Roses. I forgot who it was starring, but it was Bed of Roses. The next one was Broken Arrow with John Travolta and I think Christian Slater. And you know how you have that 6 degrees of separation from
Right.
Kevin Bacon or whatever? I don't know if this would be the same thing, but the movie Broken Arrow, it was kind of funny because we lived in the subdivision Broken Arrow. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. I mean, what are the odds? But then the last movie was The Birdcage, which with Robin Williams and Nathan Lane, and he was in the package. Oh my God, Gene Hackman, funny movie. We could quote the whole thing. We've watched it so many times. It's one of the movies I watch when I go move up, like our kids from school, because it's perfect amount of time for half the way. But anyway, it was funny. And another 6 degree of separation, I guess you could say, type thing with The Birdcage. It was, obviously it was filmed in 1995, but it was set in Miami, and we sailed out of Miami. And in one of the scenes in the background, there's a ship sailing by. And what do you think the cruise ship was named that was sailing by in the background? The Ecstasy.
Stugatzengool.
Yeah. So, I mean, it I don't know. It just made it special, I guess you could say. It sounds stupid, but it made it special. But it was a good introduction to 4-night. Excuse me, the 4-night. So our next one was a 7-day cruise. In my opinion, when you're hitting 4 ports of call, I think that's enough. 7 days was kind of just enough on a cruise ship. Now I know they've got these 2 week, they've got these 3 months and all that. That you've got to get in a separate mindset, I guess, for that. And I'm a working man. I'm people who do that are pretty much retired and all that. So 7 days was just enough. So anyway, our second one was the Carnival MS Inspiration, which was a sister ship to the Ecstasy. Same class, fantasy class. Oh, our first dining room was called the Windsong. Our dining room for this one was, I want to say Martinique, the Miracle. Anyway, I don't remember that much of the second one because there was so much to do. We were doing a lot of ports of call. Where did this one come from? It went, let's see, it sailed out of San Juan. So we had to fly from O'Hare on United to San Juan, Puerto Rico. St. Thomas, St. Martin, Dominica, which is not the Dominican Republic. It's a separate island. It's Dominica, Barbados, and Martinique. Our favorite, I want to say, at least for Chris and I, our favorite was maybe Barbados or Dominica. Barbados, we toured the Mount Gay Rum Distilling Company, which is pretty cool. You got a free couple of rum punches if you wanted. But the weird thing is they use, to age their rum, they use old Jim Beam barrels, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then Dominica, our goal, at least Chris and I, our goal was to at least do something, go somewhere, do something. We're not partiers. We aren't drinkers. So we don't do the Carlos and Charlie's or Senior Frogs like in Cozumel. We just want to go see things, places I'm sure we're never going to see ever again in our life. We just want to see what the people are like and how they live and stuff. Backtracking a little bit on Cozumel, we did that. We just took a taxi, I guess, to the shopping district. And then Chris and I just started walking into the neighborhood back to the ship. It was like maybe half a mile, 3/4 mile. We walked into the neighborhood and it's off the beaten path or the touristy areas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's totally different. I mean, there are little bodegas and little shops, little taco stands for the people who live there. And the same thing in these places, on these cruises, or on these ports of call for the Inspiration, we want to do this something, not the normal stuff, partying, and we're not real active people like zip lining and stuff. So on this one, we went to an Emerald, I think the Emerald Cave that took you by a waterfall, which was nice. And then they took you to I think it was another resort where they had a little in one of the party rooms they had set up where they had a local music troupe, I guess you could say, of I think this was Dominica, where they performed for you. It was like a 15-minute song and dance thing of their local thing they do. And I thought that was real nice. I'll try to capture that and put it in our YouTube video. Like I said, 7 days is long enough, where it gets to, oh, we got to go do this again. I didn't want to think that, but again, cruising on these ships, just getting into cruising, we loved it. We thought it was the cat's meow. And it was definitely in budget for us, didn't break the bank. And, I don't remember. No, on the second one for our dining, it was Chris and I, our two friends, and then this other couple. I think it was two ladies. They were just friends cruising, but I remember them. We weren't then wine drinkers. We are kind of now. I remember they stuck out because every meal, even breakfast. I don't know how you do this, but Merlot. Give us a bottle of Merlot. Give us a bottle of Merlot. Give us a bottle of Merlot. No. I mean, they weren't stumble drunks. Don't get me wrong. I mean, nothing wrong with these people, but it was like breakfast. Okay, to each their own. You know what? You're on a cruise. Do the different stuff, right? Do what's not normal. Try those foods that you would never try. I did. I had lobster tails. I remember I had before, and you know what? I like it. It's not a main thing I would ever eat every day, but I've never had it before, so I tried it on a ship. You figure it's included. If you don't like it, get something else, right? Carnival is nice, but like you said, it's more of a budget conscious crowd, a party crowd, a youngster crowd. That's, I mean, right. It was evident.
And as I said, I sent it to you. I sent it to you, Mark, the YouTube video that maybe we could include that in either show notes or wherever you want to. And this guy, it's about 15 minutes, but it'll explain to our listeners. He gives a really good, and he was spot on with stuff. I mean, obviously when you're getting to levels, I don't know how many levels, 6 and 7, we're not, that's out of our,
it's money.
Well out of our league, because you're living on this ship.
Yeah.
You're living on a ship. So, but the first initial maybe 4 classes, that's going to give you a good flavor of everything that I was talking about.
Right.
And it starts with, level 1 is your carnival level, mm-hmm. and some other ones. And then you got level 2 and it just moves up the line, where obviously the higher you're going to levels, you're going to be paying more, but what's included, what you get with it is
right.
Like Viking was outstanding. Again, 900 people on a ship. That was so good.
Well, another fun fact. This was maybe 1999-ish, 1998-ish. I was working at the dispatch center, and on the news, I think it was CNN, we were watching cruise ship on fire outside of Miami, and they zoom in. It was the Ecstasy. I guess in where they store the dock lines, those big heavy ropes where they store those, there was a fire. Yeah, you just see this black smoke puffing out of this. I mean, just chugging. Definite big ass header you see in the sky, and all the smoke, just black smoke chucking out of this room. It's like, hope you don't go down. I mean, luckily, it was mitigated pretty quickly because they were literally just outside of government cut there out of Miami. So plenty of water they could mm-hmm. they could tack it with. But just to wrap up, Tim, you have any closing comments? I mean, I don't really have much. I like the Ecstasy better, so that's my thought. But what are your final thoughts?
If we put things in perspective, Carnival was on just based on all our cruise experience. Now, Carnival is for us would be the low, so it would be that level 1.
So what would be your best?
Then, best, if you're going to talk about for overall what you get, would be Viking.
Okay.
Viking, but it would be Carnival, Royal Caribbean, the one we did, and then you have Celebrity, but I'll get Celebrity in it, but Viking, that's the top of the line that we've been on. But you were obviously paying a lot more money for that. So if you're looking to be a little bit more budget conscious, but have, to me, a Viking level of service, Celebrity is your Celebrity would be it, and Celebrity's only that one. The Apex was only 2,900 passenger, and I don't remember how many crew is. So, but Viking was definitely the top of the line so far.
So to wrap up, that's our cruise stories. If you have any stories you want to share with us, shoot us a quick email and call into our fan hotline. We'll shoot that at the end here. But let us know what you think. What cruise? Cracking time. What cruise ships were you on? What did you like? What was your best port of call? Let us know.
Dummy. You big dummy. You big dummy. You big dummy. You big cold-blooded dummy. You big dummy. See what you did? Oh, no, you big dummy. Oh, no, you big dummy. You dummy.
I do have a dummy in the news that's cruise related. We stayed in Port Canaveral in a hotel for a couple of days, and just if you're gonna fly into Orlando, Melbourne, or Sanford, and you're gonna go to Port Canaveral, there's a service called GoPort. Fantastic. They have packages that put you in hotels that are 5 minutes from the cruise port.
Nice.
They pick you up we had a black car service.
Sweet.
Picked us up at the airport, brought us to the hotel. Then they took a smaller, a bus type one, a smaller one from the hotel to the cruise port. Then when they took you back to the airport, you were in a regular, like larger size tour bus. But that was great. But dummy in the news on this. As we were waiting for the bus to take us to the actual port from the hotel, Judy heard this one woman telling her family that, and she is probably in her 80s, dressing like she was 20.
Oh boy, I can
cut off
see him
shorts.
already.
It just rip cut off shorts. Yeah, it was no, lady, no. But she was telling her family members, you know what? The TV in the hotel room, the room, it wasn't working, and I think it was more she couldn't figure it out. It was a smart TV, so you got all that. You have to deal with streaming or whatever they give you limited that's not streaming. So what would you do, Mark, if you couldn't figure out it wasn't working? What would you do? Logically, what would you do if you wanted to watch TV that night?
You call the front desk.
Okay. She called 911.
Oh my God.
And I believe then she realized what she did and she went click, hung it up.
Mistake.
And well, it was a 911 hang up. And what happened when you were a dispatcher, Mark? When you were a dispatcher, Mark, what did you do with a 911 hang up?
You send them out there and then you call back. Is everything okay? And then you say, they just
who did you send out there? Who did you send? There you go. And guess who came rapping on her door? The Popo. So there's your little dummy in the news. Cruise dummy in the news.
You big dummy. Yeah, so if you call 911 and it's an accident, stay on the phone and say it's an accident. They probably won't send it. Right. But if you hang up,
grab a bite, grab a seat. Snacky Time's got something sweet. Chips, dips, late night cry. Everybody loves Snacky Time.
We love Snacky Time. Yeah, I know we said we weren't going to do this every show, but we got a bunch. So we're just going to do a quick snack. And what I picked out was, it's a box of, looks like chocolate. It's cactus chocolate. Jeju Harubang cactus chocolate.
Right. Harubang prickly pear chocolate. Prickly pear chocolate. That's what it is.
And you did the translate. Where was this from again? Maybe
I don't see it saying it, Mark. Or maybe let me look at the back. Hold on.
I think it was just a city raised in Jeju, made in Jeju. So wherever Jeju is, guessing, I don't know, somewhere in Asia, Hong Kong or China, whatever. Anyway, it's basically a box of individually wrapped chocolates. You got maybe 15 of them or something like that.
Yeah, there's 15. Something. Yeah, 15 servings per container. So 35 calories, less than 1 gram of sugar. So, yeah, not bad.
So individually wrapped. It's got a picture of a prickly pear. I've got prickly pear growing outside here. But actually, prickly pear is good jelly. If you ever have prickly pear jelly, it's very tasty.
Ooh, let's give this a whirl.
It looks like a little tiki man, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it does.
Voodoo. Mm-hmm. Half of it, the center half is like a pink or a chartreuse, and the other part, the back is regular chocolate. So let's see what we got here.
Not bad. It's more chocolate forward.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you don't get that fruity taste. Just a little bit, but it's more chocolate. Not bad. Not bad for Snacky Time. It's a little, like I said, individually wrapped chocolates. I thought there were gummies because the pink part, looks like a gummy to me.
This is an island. Jeju Island is located in South Korea.
Oh, there we go.
So this is South Korean. It's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah. This one's a keeper too.
Yeah, it is. I thought it'd be more fruity forward, but it's chocolate forward, which is fine. It's not nasty chocolate either. It's typical chocolate. Sometimes you get chocolate that's just like, it tastes more like wax than anything, right?
I just had another one. I'm still getting chocolate for nothing.
Oh, I forgot to mention, on our second cruise, the only people I know, remember, our cruise director was Lenny Halliday. He was a lively guy. And our waiter was Fabio. And my buddy wanted all his steaks well done. So by the third day, well done, eh? Well done, eh? Well done, eh?
Mm-hmm.
But he was a good guy. Super. We tipped him extra. Anyway, that wraps up this edition of Sunday Gravy Radio, Cruising the High Seas. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for joining us. Our next show topic for number 6 is going to be our version of Sunday Gravy. Chris and I are going to visit Tim and Judy, and he's going to, ahead of time, prepare an actual Sunday Gravy. Now, what we're going to do, he's just going to take like pictures of the mise en place and all that stuff, and we will kind of discuss it. It'll be more, again, YouTube will do it more justice, I would assume. I'll include the pictures there, but that's what we're going to do. Actual Sunday Gravy for Sunday Gravy Radio. And then show number 7, pet peeves of hosting parties and holidays. Please, I know we don't have that many listeners, but please give us a quick story. Call in the hotline. Give us your pet peeve of hosting parties and holidays. Names will be changed to protect the innocent, if you know what I'm getting at. So please let us know your stories of hosting parties and holidays, and also call in and let us know your stories of cruising. Tell us your ports of call. Tell us your ships, goods and bads. We might read them. We might respond on the air. Our email is sundaygravyradio@gmail.com. Our socials are at Sunday Gravy Radio, Instagram and Facebook. And our hotline is 815-242-2151. Call in and tell us what's up. Sunday Gravy Radio, where the table is always full and the conversation never ends. We'll see you next time. Same table, same gravy.